You're the product of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution that have shaped you in accordance to an environment that is no longer here. The environment around you, the social, technological, natural, is evolving so fast that your brain is unable to cope. And thus, your brain is disoriented and is preventing you from driving effective behavior in the middle of the entrepreneurial storm. You keep trying to become more productive and more effective, and you keep failing because there's a fundamental truth about yourself that you keep ignoring. Welcome back. Hello everyone, Leon Castillo here. I'm the CEO and founder of Selfmastered, which is a company that specializes in peak cognitive performance training for entrepreneurs and business leaders. We've blended the most actionable frameworks from complexity science, behavioral science, and neuroscience into a methodology that uses data to solidify performance improvements over time. Our clients call us their secret weapon. Hello everyone, back again. This is a very important lesson for you to understand why you have not been able to remain productive every day. And this is because you keep ignoring a fundamental truth about yourself, which is that you are a complex systems. You are an array of different interlinked systems that need to be addressed at the same times and optimized at the same times if we want them to work together. And the problem with the current productivity trainings is that they believe that only by changing the way you work, you will actually be more effective at work. And that's just not true. And in order to prove this point, let me refer to the two main paradigms of science that you need to understand in order to make the necessary paradigm change. The typical scientific paradigm is reductionism, that says that all systems can be subdivided into its core constituents, its elements, and all behavior within any system can be fully inferred and understood by looking at the parts. But you know that this is not what happens with biological entities like yourself, which is why we need to embrace another paradigm, which is holism, that looks at any system first in its relationship with the environment in which it integrates, and then the relationship between the core elements that constitute that system. In other words, for a reductionist, the whole is just the sum of the parts. For a holist, the whole is more than just the sum of the parts, because some of the relationship between the elements cannot be understood or inferred just by looking at the elements within themselves. And you may be thinking, what does this has to do with me? I'm trying to become more productive. I'm trying to be a top performer. Why should I care? Well, you should care because until you understand that you are a complex system, that you need to embrace an holistic point of view and optimize yourself on all fronts, you will keep failing. Because if you apply a reductionist stance to a complex system, you are missing out on a lot of information that actually makes the system work. Think about it for a minute. Do you believe that only by changing the way you work, you can solidify a performance improvement over time? You know that's not true. What if you're going through a divorce? Why if you didn't sleep the night before? Those things affect your productivity. So just harnessing the power of a new mental model, or using Notion, or doing dopamine fasting is not enough to drive effective behavior in the long term. You need to look at the whole system of yourself at the same time and optimize that system. Which is why until you embrace the fact that productivity isn't serving you well and that you need to embrace performance, you will remain stuck in the same place. So, to recap, you are an interconnected web of complex systems that needs to be optimized in the current data-driven economy. And thus, you need to harness the power of the environment and the power of a deep understanding of who you are in order to drive effective behavior. If you keep trying to become more productive by changing your tools or changing your mental models or just time batching your tasks, you are missing out on a lot of information that, if well harnessed, will make you way more productive as a byproduct of improving your performance. Mastering productivity is how you become a little bit more effective. 1.2, 1.3 more effective. Becoming a top performer is how you 10x your productivity. So if you really want to win, you need to become a top performer. And this is how you do it. Performance optimization in a nutshell, 101. 1. Change the paradigm. You need to try to become a top performer, not becoming more productive. Second, you need to understand yourself as a complex system and look for your levers, your pitfalls, and the trade-offs between the system of you. Understand that you cannot do everything at the same time, as different processes carry a trade-off between themselves. So you need to fully analyze yourself and look for your unique leverage points. Once you have identified those three things, the leverage points, the bottlenecks, and the trade-offs, you need to start by the pitfalls. You need to start addressing what doesn't work first and fix that. Because by fixing the bottleneck, the system will improve as a whole. An example of this will be, if you are sleeping 4 hours every night, it doesn't really make sense to try to embrace a new Notion tool for task management. The bottleneck of that system is not productivity related, it's health related. In this case, it's your sleep. If you had a bad relationship that is driving you nuts, you probably need to end that relationship if you want the quality of your work to improve as a whole. And once you have a full picture, the fourth step is to optimize the system of you on the right limits, at the right time, on the right timing. And that's what we teach our clients. So if you're interested in learning more about this, hit us below, we'll put a link, and we'll be happy to have a one-on-one free consult with you and see if it makes sense to work together. As a recap, remember, you cannot drive effective behavior under pressure because you keep not acknowledging an evolutionary mismatch between who you are and who you think you are, which is why you keep trying to become more productive instead of becoming a top performer. You need to embrace the holism paradigm and not only look at the system of you, but look at the environment around you and the relationship between the subsystem that constitute who you are. And finally, there's three things that you need to look. 1, leverage points. 2, bottlenecks. And 3, trade-offs. If you're able to identify yourself within these 3 frameworks, everything is going to be sailing much smoothly. See you in the next video. Thank you very much.